pond, and the water tanks are all frozen over. It's like 20 degrees right now, but it's actually not that cold, so I don't know what's going on. But the water has all frozen over, and so I'm making sure that these animals still have access to water. They're kind of not eating as much, and I'm wondering if it's because they don't have as much water. I'm wondering if they need more water, and so I'm being more cautious of that. I'm making sure that they have access to more water. They're not really eating as much. I would say that their feed consumption is down by about 10%. So I'm like, maybe it's because they don't have water. Maybe they're having problem getting to the water. I'm not sure what's going on. But they're eating about 10% less, and so I'm making sure that they have access to water. I'm breaking the ponds open, and I'm getting the water tank. I'm breaking the water tank open, and etc. etc. And so right now, I guess I figured I would talk about what do I have set to happen, right? What direction am I going to take my business? What do I see when I look at my balance sheet? And so let's take a look at what I got going on right now. I said, the big thing that I've been talking about over the last couple of days is that if you have to learn how to see money other than cash. All right. If cash is the only way that you can see money, you're going to have a lot of financial problems your entire life. You're never really going to make any money. Cash is the most ridiculous way of making money. It's not a very logical way of making money. If you actually want to make a large amount of money, I call it my investment philosophy. The way that I make money, I call it printing my own money, right? I print my own money. I take my money, I find an asset that I understand, I appraise it for roughly its correct value. I purchase that asset at that appraisal value, and then I profitably increase the value of that asset, right? And then when I liquidate the asset, the margin that I have made is my money, and that's what I call printing my own money. I print my own money, effectively. I print my own money. That's what I call it. That's what it feels like. Right? I put $2,000 into this thing, and I got $12,000 back. I put $3,000 into this thing, and I got $14,000 back. It feels like I'm printing my own money. All right, so that's why I call it printing my own money. And so let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at it. Well, I've been saying that I'm going to liquidate animals. If I liquidate 6 to 7 animals every single month, if I liquidate 6 to 7 animals every single month, how long is it going to take me to liquidate all 33 animals? About 5 months. Okay, about 5 months. That means the smallest animals are going to be going last, right? I've already talked about this. When I liquidate animals, I start off with the biggest ones because the biggest ones have the least profit margin left to be made. And I determine the market average that I'm looking for. Depending on what's going on, I determine a good market average weight, and then I take my animals to market at that average weight, right? I take a look at it. I take a look at the feeder cattle market. I take a look at the profit for my business. I take a look at these various things, and then I determine at what market weight do I want to take my animals to market. And right now, I've determined that I want to take my animals to market at about 7.25, $7.50, right? I want to take my animals to market at about 7.25, $7.50. And so if I sell these animals at let's just say $7.50, if I sell them at $7.50, and I get whatever, right? I get let's say I sell 6 animals and I come home with 10 grand. The other 27 animals did not just evaporate into thin air. They still exist. All right, I just took my least, the animals, the biggest animals, the ones with the least amount of profit left to be made, and I liquidated them. So I'm still sitting in, and I'm going to bring home another 6 to 7 animals after I do that, right? If I sell 6 animals, I'll bring home 6 animals, and then I'll probably bring home a few $1,000s cash too. All right, maybe I bring home $5,000-$6,000 cash, and I'll also bring home an equal number of animals. My business right now, I'm not, why would I sit on $20,000 worth of cash? Why would I do that? There's no reason to do that, right? I mean, I've been talking about this for the last couple of days. Right, if I needed the money, I can just go and get the money. Right, I mean, the investment is just as good as cash. I talk about this all the time. When you're investing money, you're not actually buying anything. You're trading your money for something that is equally as valuable as the money. And when you're looking to invest money, I would highly suggest from the utmost sincerity of my soul, I would highly suggest that you look for something that is very equitable. You have a multi-hundred billion-dollar company, Coca-Cola, and you want to buy stock in their company. That's good. Why do you want to buy stock in their company? Because you have a realistic idea that, oh well, I've taken a look at their business, right? I mean, they've got a can, and they're putting a little bit of water in it, and they're putting a little bit of syrup in it, and they're selling it for $1, right? I would anticipate that over the next 10 years, there's going to be you know, the whole bigger picture of the economy is that there's going to be 2% inflation a year, roughly. And if you think about it in terms of just the broader aspects of things, if Coca-Cola is selling for $1 a can right now, it's probably going to be selling for $1.25 in 10 years, something like that, right? Coca-Cola right now is selling for $1 a can. In 10 years, it's probably going to sell for $1.25. And when it's selling for $1.25, people are still going to buy it, even though it's 25% more expensive. People will still buy it. And if the earnings of the company goes up, then the evaluation of the company goes higher as well. So you'll make a positive return on your money. You know, you have a realistic idea of how you are going to appreciate your money, right? This is one of the big things I talk about. It's like when if you go and you want to present yourself as somebody who, you know, it's like you know, if you want to communicate, what I call communicating like a rich person. If you want to communicate like a wealthy individual, you should be talking about your assets. You know, but I mean, you know, if you are going to talk about money, you should, you know, your assets will speak for you, right? I mean, look at Elon Musk. He doesn't talk about cash. He doesn't even talk about, you know, he's got no reason to talk about money with anybody. All right, but his assets speak for him. He has a $1 trillion company that he owns stock in. Tesla, SpaceX, right? He's got these different companies, and they're worth multiple, you know, they're worth a lot of money. A lot of money. His assets are what speak for him. He's not sitting around with $400 billion worth of cash. He has a company that's, you know, and granted that Tesla is kind of like, I don't know, but because it's sitting at like 470 times earnings or something. I mean, it's something ridiculous. I mean, Tesla shares are sitting at like 480 times earnings or something. It's something crazy. I mean, he's got a 480 times multiple for his business, but I mean, he's doing very interesting things, right? I mean, he's doing very interesting things. Who knows where he's going to go? That's what I mean by when you're somebody, it's like you have a massive growth potential. Nobody knows. I mean, you could be worth trillions of dollars, right? I mean, it's a question mark. How much money is this man worth? Nobody knows, right? Because I mean, his growth potential is so extreme that you can't even logically predict how much money he's worth. That's what happened to Elon Musk, right? I mean, he's making like computer chips that you put into people's brains. He's making reusable rocket ships, right? I mean, he's building robots. I actually test drove a Cybertruck the other week, about a week ago, and I test drove a Cybertruck, and the thing is very nice. Right, the auto drive on it is very nice. I mean, he's come up with like this artificial intelligence, driving program for his cars. His cars drive themselves, right? And then if you take a look at the car, I mean, the thing is being ran. The motor is built on magnets and on magnets and electricity. You don't need any oil changes. You don't need to put any gas in the thing. I mean, you know, it's a very nice car, right? It's a very nice car. I actually drove a Cybertruck. I test drove one the other week, and I was like, this is a very nice car. And the auto drive is also very good, and the thing also parks itself and everything. It's a very nice car. You don't need to put any gas in it. You don't need to do any oil changes on it. It's a very nice car. It just is. I mean, from what I experienced, am I gonna buy one? No. Because I mean, you know, I need to haul a lot of things, right? I gotta haul cattle, and I gotta haul big trailers, and you know, but I mean, having an auto drive with a gooseneck is gonna be rough, right? I mean, if you got a dually truck and you got a gooseneck on it, I mean, you can't really auto drive the thing because it's got a massive trailer behind it. So, I mean, you know, but I mean, if there was a dually Cybertruck, like a big one, and it could haul something like a F-350 diesel, or like a you know a big old truck, big old diesel truck, if it could haul like that, then sure I would buy a Cybertruck. But I'm not gonna buy one that can only haul 11,000 pounds. Okay, there's no reason to do that. But I mean, the thing is very nice. It drives itself, right? I mean, you don't need to do any oil changes on it. You don't need to put any gas in it. I mean, it's a very nice truck. It is. All right, the Cybertruck is very nice, and he's also doing things like computer chips in people's brains and building robots and reusable rockets. And it's like, who knows what this man is worth? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's a question mark. And so he has a 500 times earnings. You know, when they look at his company, they say we're going to evaluate this company at 500 times its earnings. Because who knows what it's worth? Nobody knows. Right? I mean, this guy could be headed to Mars. Nobody knows. I mean, he could go to Mars and start mining lithium. Nobody knows. So they give him a 500 times earnings multiple. And this is what I mean by, if you're somebody who logically has a large growth projection in front of you, you're worth vastly more than everybody. Vastly more. All right, if you have a large growth potential, you're worth more. All right, who knows where this guy's going? Nobody knows, right? I mean, he does such incredible things. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, right? And so I mean, you know, and so yeah, that's the whole thing about you know, what was I Oh yeah, okay. So if I sell 7 animals, right? Let's say I sell 6-7 animals a month. And I go and I sell 6-7 animals a month, and I buy 6-7 animals a month. The other 27 animals, they don't just vanish into thin air. They don't just evaporate, right? If I have 33 animals and I sell 6 animals, I still have 27 animals. All right, and those 27 animals, I went and I realized about the 7 animals that I sold, they cost me, the 6 animals that I sold, I made whatever, right? Let's say if I sell 6 animals, I come home with 10 grand, right? And and I've been talking about it. And if I buy 6 animals, realistically, I mean we're talking about maybe I spend about $5,400, so I come home with about $5,500. If one of them dies, then I need to go and buy another one. So maybe I make a whatever, right? A $4,800 for the month. But but the cattle, and I speak about this all the time, but cattle are not an expense. And I talk about this all the time in various assets. It's not just cattle. It's the feed, it's the land, it's everything. If it pays for itself, it's not an expense. This is actually making me money. I think that this is going to be what's counterintuitive for a lot of people, and that's why I put so much emphasis on this. This does not cost me any money. It does not cost me any money at all. It makes me, this business right here is evaluated. If I take a look at everything, the land, the cattle, the business, I mean, we're talking about somewhere between $3 and $5 million. My net worth, I would anticipate that my net worth logically is somewhere between $3 and $5 million. Would I sell 10% of my business for $300,000? No, I would not do that. That's ridiculous. Why would I do that? Would I sell 10% of my business for half $500,000? No, I would not do that. Why would I do that? If I want $500,000, I'll just go to the bank and take a loan. They'll just give it to me. And I'll just pay the $2,500 a month for the $500,000. I don't care about $500,000. I could put $500,000 in a hole right now and light it on fire and it wouldn't even faze me. All right, if we're just gonna take a look at it for what it is right now, maybe my business is worth, maybe my assets, maybe my net worth is somewhere between $3 and $5 million. Now, when I take a look at my balance sheet and how much money do I make, maybe, we're talking about, on the average, right? I mean, I've talked about this on the average. Like, if I take a look at what I do on the average over the long term, right, over the course of many months, I mean, we're talking about maybe about 2 years, I've been making about $12,000 to $14,000 a month on the average. Right, I've been making about $12,000 to $14,000 a month on the average for the long term. All right, if I take a look at it for what it is, maybe over the last about 15 months, something like that, over the last 18 months, but I mean, if I just take a look at it for what it does, I make about $12,000 to $14,000 a month. My average take-home pay If I take a look at it, my average, but I mean, here's the thing. It's like, am I going to come home with $20,000 cash? No, I'm not. Why would I do that? There's no reason to do that. There are better things for me to think about than bringing home $20,000 cash every month. What am I going to do with $20,000 cash? All right, now I've talked about this. If you bring home cash, you're going to get taxed the most. Making money via cash is the most ridiculous way of making money. You have to start to break yourself away from thinking about money as cash. All right, you don't want to be in a situation where cash is the only thing that you see as money. If you see cash as the only way to make money, you're going to have a miserable financial life. All right, and I'm giving you this information. I'm just giving you this information with the utmost sincerity of my existence. I'm just being as sincere as possible. I'm giving you the best information that I can. And if we just take a look at it, 99.999% of the entire U.S. population is closer to being homeless than they are to having as much money as me. 99.999% homeless. All right, a lot of people lose money. A majority of people lose money, worth negative money, what you call negative equity. A lot of people. All right, most people, and you don't want to end up in that situation. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go and look up somebody, credit card debt, student loan debt. There are many examples of people who are negative equity. A majority of people are negative equity. They have massive levels of debt. Their debt is not producing any sort of a return. They've dug themselves into a massive hole. They're going, and they're financially underwater forever. There is no recovery from that. The recovering from that is going to be it's going to be such a low percentage, and that's what happens to most people. All right, we just have to look at it for what it is. I mean, we're not talking. The world is not Disneyland. All right, if you actually take a look at how much money I generate, and you actually just take a look at it for what it is, 99.9999% of the entire country is actually closer. In terms of a numerical figure, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not throwing shade on anybody. 99.9999% of the entire country is actually closer to being homeless than they are to making as much money as me. And I'm telling you how I make my money, because I figured, why not? I mean, there are so many examples of people in the world that have negative equity. A majority of people have negative equity. A majority. There are so many examples of this, but I'm like, why are there zero examples of, why are the people, it's like I make $5 million a year, and I want to show you what I do in my life. Why are there so few people that do that? Why do we not have people that are like, I make $10 million a year, I make $5 million a year, and I want to show you how I do it. Right? I do it via investments, right? I mean, why do we have so few examples of people who make $5 million a year that are just like, I want to show you how I do it. All right, 99.9999% of the entire country is closer to being homeless than they are to making as much money as me. All right, do I come home with massive amounts of cash? No, why would I do that? There are better things for me to think about. What direction is my business headed? What does my balance sheet look like? Do I want to increase the size of my herd? And if I want to increase the size of my herd, I have positive equity in my herd. I can take a loan against that and then just bring home the more animals and keep the animals. Do I want to start liquidating animals off the top of my herd? I mean, there are more important things to think about than, oh my God, how much cash can I bring home every month? That's ridiculous. Why would I bring home, what am I going to do with $20,000 of cash every single month? What am I going to do with that? Nothing. There's nothing that and here's actually, and I've been saying that over the next 5 months, right? Over the next 5 months, I'll bring home maybe about $100,000. So let's take a look at it. All right? And I've already said that when it comes to this whole thing, am I suggesting that you go and do what I do? No, I'm not. If anything, I'm suggesting that you don't do it. If you actually take a look at it for what it is, I mean, maybe we're talking about 5 people in the entire planet that can do something like this. I may be one of about 5 people. If you put me on a 10.5-acre field tomorrow with nothing, with $0, and even if I didn't have the field, I could just go and buy one. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the $1,000 a month. All right, I don't care. The $1,000 a month is not what's going to stop me from making a $5 million business. All right, you know, I don't care about the $1,000. Let's say, you know, even if I had $0 tomorrow, within a year, I would be a multimillionaire, right back to where I was. It doesn't matter. All right, I could just go and buy myself a 20-acre field. That would cost me like $1,500 a month. I don't care about the $1,500 a month. I could go and take a loan for 40 cattle. That would cost me whatever, $350 a month. I would just pay the $1,850 a month to have the 40 cattle and the 20 acres of land, and then I could just grow my grass on it. Growing grass on 20 acres is going to cost how much money? About $800. I don't care about the $2,500. All right, that $2,500 is going to net me a positive of somewhere between $5 and $10 million. I don't care about the $2,500. All right, I don't. I'm more focused on different things. What kind of cattle should I buy? Right? What kind of, let me go and get myself a piece of real estate. What kind of cattle am I going to buy? How much am I going to pay for them? What kind of fertilizer am I going to put on the grass? When am I going to feed the grass to the animals? You know, what's the target market weight for the animals when I want to take them to market? Those are the things that I'm thinking about. I'm not even concerned about the $2,500. And here's a very realistic example. And because it's 2025, and at the beginning of 2025, I actually went over all of my expenses for 2024, right? I said in 2024, I just bought one big old load of hay. I bought one giant load of hay, and I had that entire load of hay for the entire year, roughly for the entire year. I used one load of hay for the entire year. I used two loads of distiller grains, and then I used about $3,000 worth of corn. Now those were my expenses, and then I fertilized my grass at about 40 units of fertilizer per acre for about 6 months. Right, and so let's just say the fertilizer cost me about $400 a month for about 6 months. So it cost me $2,400. The distiller grains cost me $4,000. The hay cost me $4,000. The corn cost me $3,000. What is that? $8,000 plus $4,000 is $12,000. Plus $3,000 is $15,000. Plus $2,500 is 17.5, something like that. $17,500. And then let's say I used $1,500 on animal antibiotics. So my entire business cost me $19,000 for the entire year. What's 19,000 divided by 12? Let's say 19,000 divided by 12. What is that? I don't even know. It's less than $2,000 a month. All right, it's less than $2,000 a month. And also, I still have $1,000. So I mean, I still have about $1,200 worth of distiller grains left. So let's just say 1,800, and then let's just call it $1,500 a month. So this business cost me $1,500 a month. And I made $12,000, $14,000 on that money. That's the reality of my situation. All right, I invest about $1,500 a month, and I make about $12,000, $14,000 back. I don't even worry about the $1,500. All right, the $1,500 a month that I need for my business, I'll just take it out of the $12,000 that I'm making. I'll just take it out of the $14,000 that I'm making. I don't care about the $1,500. I'm more thinking about, what animals do I want to bring in? What weight do I want to bring them in at? Why am I going to bring in these type of animals? Why am I going to bring them in at that weight? What do I see? Do I want to buy grain right now? When do I see myself growing more grass? What time do I see myself growing grass? What stage of development is the grass at when I feed it to the animals? What are the mineral concentrations of my field? What is the target market weight for the animals that I want to take them to market at? What does my balance sheet look like in its entirety? Those are the things that I'm thinking about. I don't care about the $1,500. I'll just take the $1,500 out of the $12,000 that I'm making. And let's take a look at how much money I make. Let's just take a look at it right now, okay? Because I've been saying I'm going to take animals to market next month. And I'm already sitting on about net positive 20 animals of equity. Net positive 20 animals, okay? If I sold all 33 of my animals right now, how many animals do you think I could buy? Maybe about 53, something like that. I'm about net positive 20 animals worth of equity, right? So if I go and I sell 7 animals a month, That's going to take me 5 months to sell all my animals. So the biggest ones are going to go first, and then the smallest ones are going to go last. Right? So let's take a look at it. If I sell those 6 animals and I go and I bring home cash, the 27 animals did not just evaporate into dust. They still exist. And I would anticipate that, you know, and if I go and I buy 6, if I buy 6 animals and I bring home 6 animals, then I'm still sitting at 33. The net positive gain for my herd is going to be about equal. So, you know, the net positive gain, the net positive gain for my animals are about $4,500 a month, and I'm already net positive about 20 animals. I'm already net positive about 20 animals, and I take whatever, you know, I take some money off the top by selling my least profitable animals. All right, so I'm still sitting on whatever, right? You know, on 27 animals, and I take, let's say, I take 10 grand off of that. So I'm still sitting on net positive 10,000. Right, my animals are still going up in value by about $4,500, $5,000 a month. Right, if I really needed more cash, if I really decided for whatever reason, oh my God, I need more cash, then I could just go and get more cash. I could just liquidate more animals. It's not that big of a deal. There's no reason to sit around with $20,000 cash a month, though. This is what I've been trying to put in a lot of emphasis on. There is no reason to sit around with $20,000 worth of cash every month. You're not even going to be able to do anything with it. It's not going to do anything. This is why, if you have $20,000 today, next month you will have $20,000 again. The month after that, you will have $20,000 again. The month after that, you will have $20,000 again. Forever and infinity, the $20,000 is not going to do anything. But if you go and you purchase yourself a taxi, you're actually going to lose money because of inflation and also taxes. All right, you're actually going to lose money because of inflation and taxes. But if you take that $20,000 and you purchase a tax deductible asset, and I've actually talked about this as a multiple stage of development, chances are you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be able to do this, right? I mean, the first step, I would say that if I were to give just information on dividing this up into steps, the first thing is that you need to understand what investing is and how to develop a good sense of investing. Right? It doesn't matter what you want to invest in. If you want to run a business, then go and invest in a business. Go and buy one. Chances are you should not start one. If you want to start one, then make sure that you can actually even make the money. Make sure that you can actually even run a business. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares about your business. There's a very realistic possibility that there's a 98% chance that you fail. If you take a look at it for what it is today, there's a 98% chance that you fail. And I consider barely making enough money to have an average living, I consider that a failure as well. Because you could have just gotten a job and invested your money. You wouldn't have worked nearly as long. You wouldn't have been stuck in a situation where you're working 7 days a week and barely making enough money to have an average middle-class living. You could have done that by just getting yourself a job, working 40 hours a week and investing your money. All right, so just go. There's a 98% chance of you failing if you want to start a business. There's a 98% chance that you fail. So go and buy one. If you really want to run a business, then go and buy one. Right, I mean, you can buy these businesses, and when you look at businesses, they're all evaluated the same way. They're evaluated at a multiple of their earnings. You take a look at how much money the business makes, and then you take a multiple of that, and that's what you can buy the business for. All right, if you want to run a business, that's my information on. That's the information that I'm giving you in terms of what do I know about business. If you want to buy stocks, same difference. You're just buying a portion of a business, of a large business. Right, and so you're taking a look at, does this company produce a good product? Do I think that the product is good? All right, when I take a look at the bigger economic forces at hand, what am I looking at? Right, I mean, inflation, right? Inflation, and if the cost of this product went up by 25%, would people still buy it? Right, I mean, if Coca-Cola went from $1 a can to $1.25 a can, would people still buy it? Multi-$100 billion company. Yes, people would still buy it, right? So, good earnings, right? A 3% dividend. You have an idea for how to appreciate your money. You understand what investing is. When you invest your money, you're not buying anything. You're trading your money for something that is equally as valuable as the money. right? And then when you want to go one stage higher than that, if you want to go to the higher level investing, and this is where you get the people like me, right? I intentionally make money, right? I print my own money. I can make as I make question. I don't even know how much money I make. I just know that I make enough money to do anything on the entire planet, just about, short of like buying a private jet or a yacht. All right, I make enough money running these cattle that I can effectively do anything on the entire planet. If you take a look at my situation, if you take a look at me and just take a look at it for what it is, 99.9999% of the entire country is actually closer to being homeless than they are to making as much money as me. It's a fact. It's not up for debate. All right, and this is how I make my money. I take my money, I take a look at my balance sheet, right? I do these various things. I utilize these assets. My business costs me about $1,500 a month, and on that $1,500, I make about $12,000, $14,000 back. Right? I mean, if I go and I liquidate animals next month, my biggest animals, my least profitable animals, then I'll come home with some cash. Right, and I'll still have my 27 animals, and chances are, I will have replaced the 6 animals that I have sold as well. So I still have 33 animals. I'm already in the net positive 20 animals. Right, etc., etc. My money is being, I'm gaining money, via unrealized gains by appreciating the value of my assets. And if you take a look at how much money I made just in the year 2024, I actually did better than 99.99999% of the entire country. And when you start talking about making money in the top 1%, the disparity becomes very drastic. And I talked about this from my personal from what I see in the world, right? If I made the same amount of money every single year for the next 30 years of my life, I would barely have somewhere between, I would barely have somewhere between 150 and 250 million dollars, barely. Am I going to make the same amount of money for the rest of my life? No. I'm actually looking at increasing the amount of money I make by about 325%. But if I made the same amount of money every single year for the next 30 years of my life, I would end up with somewhere around 150 million to 250 million dollars. That's it. When you start talking about people who make money in the top 1%, you're talking about people who make like drastic sums of money more than everybody else. Drastically. And this is an emphasis that I put on. And actually I'll actually say it this way, because I feel like if I say it this way, it'll be better. I'm actually closer to being homeless than I am to having as much money as Elon Musk. I'm actually closer to being homeless than I am to having as much money as Warren Buffett. All right, maybe I can put it that way, and if I put it that way, it will actually it won't make me seem like a dick. All right, I'm actually closer to being homeless than Warren Buffett. I'm actually closer to being homeless than I am Elon Musk. All right, that's another very realistic way to put it. And the people in the top, 0.0001% effectively make a disproportionate amount of money compared to everybody else. Everybody, I'm telling you. I mean, I make, in terms of even my reality, I mean, I make, 99.9999% of the entire country is actually closer to being homeless than to making as much money as me. That, and I'm actually closer to being homeless than I am to making as much money as Elon Musk. I'm actually closer to being homeless than I am to making as much money as Jeff Bezos or Warren Buffett. That's a very realistic way to look at it. My business makes about $12,000-$14,000 a month. I trade commodities, a very equitable commodity on a piece of land. I own my own business. I started this business myself. I'm a first-generation cattle farmer. I'm a first-generation farmer, first-generation cattleman. I started this business by myself. My business makes about $12,000-$14,000 a month, and it costs me about $1,500. All right, when I take a look at it, I effectively make enough money on this 10.5 acre field running cattle to do anything on the entire planet, short of like drugs, alcohol, gambling, private jets, yachts. But on the other side of things, I'm actually looking to grow my business exponentially. So it just is what it is. Let's just take a look at it for what it is. And if I use me as an example, maybe it'll just come off as a more, you know, like of how I mean to say it, of what I actually mean. I am actually closer to being homeless than I am to making as much money as Warren Buffett. If I made the same amount of money for the next 30 years of my life, I would only have $150 to $250 million. That's it. That's another very realistic way to look at it. And so it just is what it is, right? It's not an opinion. It's just a fact. All right, it doesn't matter. You know, opinions don't matter. Money talks. All right, it just is what it is. And so that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.